They say that after the war the Nazis vanished without a trace, but battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books they tell of their defeat in 45, but they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. The prisoner at Spandau was a beloved defeat, whilst Hess remained in prison. Victory seemed complete, so the vision of an Aryan world would never materialize. So why did they all come out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died? They're here and they're there and they're everywhere. They're here and they're there and they're everywhere. They're here and they're there and they're everywhere. What the hell? How's that? Trying to figure out some way to set my phone up so that it's not falling off. Fuck me. There's got to be some way to do this that doesn't cause my phone to fucking fall over every 5 minutes. Maybe? I guess we'll see. Time to get a selfie stick? I couldn't do these streams if I had to sit here with a selfie stick the whole time. No, what I need is, honestly, I need, a portable battery pack. I already have a gimbal, but if I had a portable battery pack or 2 or 3, I could actually keep the gimbal charged and use it at the same time, and that's what I really need. Make sure you guys hit that like button as you start to roll in. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure. Here in a minute, we'll start talking about, whatever you guys want to, but I do imagine that Trump deploying troops to Portland is going to be a pretty big topic, especially because Portland is just not really known for its super pro-government nature. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. What occupied Portland ends up looking like. Talk about buttered sausage. What it's doing, where it's been, its importance. $360. You wouldn't even be able to see anything. There's no point in it. We also might talk about the attack against ICE, or at least an ICE facility that happened in Dallas a few days ago. I gotta tell you guys, this shit stinks. This shit stinks. I don't know how much news you've read about it, but we'll talk about it. We'll get there. I have a riddle. What's the only man-made thing in heaven? God. My daughter is both blind and deaf. Last Christmas, Santa brought her cancer. We are just blessed she isn't dating a black guy. Man, what a clever, funny person you are. I wouldn't honestly think that there's much, like, market for misogynation jokes anymore. Like, you just don't hear it, you know? Like, you'll hear sentiments against every other fucking group on the planet. Like, every other group that was previously, like, dealt with a lot of aspersions being cast about it in the real world, in everyday life. Most of them have a bunch of aspersions cast about them online nowadays, too. And a lot of people will talk negatively about all kinds of people that used to be a big part of people's ire. And interracial couples used to have that same kind of stigma, and from what I understand, they still kind of do, at least in real life. But it seems like it's one of those forms of, like, racism or discrimination or whatever you want to call it that hasn't really translated directly to the internet, because I really don't hear that much complaining about miscegenation, which is good. I mean, I'm glad that the conservatives are finally getting over this idea that this bigoted idea that interracial marriage is wrong. I'm glad you guys are moving into the 21st century. Welcome. We've got good weed. Can you explain your sexuality and then thoughts on Christianity and how it conflicts with you personally? I mean, I guess I can give a very brief explanation of my sexuality. I'm pansexual. I usually just say bisexual because, like, that's what, like, the terminology that I grew up with and everything. But whichever one you prefer, I identify with both to some degree. I'm romantically interested mostly in women and people who are more feminine, but I could see myself romantically attracted to a man again. I certainly have been in the past a few times. Sexually attracted to everybody, not everybody literally, but anybody. Like, the genitalia of a person does not factor much into my sexual attraction to them. Whatever I can't do with one, I can do with the other, right? So, and, on the rare occasion you meet somebody with both or a little bit of both, oh boy, that's the real fun nights. But for me, I don't really have much of a preference one way or the other sexually, just sexually speaking. Romantically speaking, like I said, I have a much stronger preference for women and femmes in general. As far as how Christianity, thoughts on Christianity, I think Christianity has a lot of fucking rot to correct. I think that the modern church needs a lot of reparations, a lot of reformations, I should say, and people really need to start fighting against this bigoted kind of influence that's so prevalent in the American church right now. Really, not just the American church, but that's the church I can talk about. Churches here in America are what I'm familiar with, so that's what I can speak on with confidence. You guys have a lot of rot in your institutions, and I think that needs to be corrected, because I think Christianity could be an institution for good. I think that Christianity could be an institution that helps to teach people how to be better, but as it exists right now, that's not what it does. That's not how it works. So as far as how Christianity conflicts with me personally, it doesn't. Christians sometimes conflict with me personally, but Christianity as a belief, it might as well exist in a vacuum. To me, I don't have any exposure to it in my everyday regular life because nobody that I'm close to is a hardcore Christian. So it just doesn't come up that much. As far as, like, how it conflicts with me personally, the only time it ever conflicts with me personally is when somebody takes issue with some aspect of my identity because they're a Christian, and that only happens on here. Why are you watching streams if you don't want to listen to people talking? I found the IRL Reddit mod. You got me. I pray for you. Consider looking into Jesus Christ. Dude, I was raised in the church. I was raised a Pentecostal Christian. You don't need to inform me about Jesus. Trust me, I've had a lot of tutelage in the nature of Jesus, okay? Slow down. Man, some of you guys must have, like, really, really bad attention spans, or, like, a really tragically hard ability to, like, am I really talking that fast? I really don't feel like I am. I talk a little bit slower than the people who used to do commercial reads talked. So, like, how is that? Like, maybe I should do that. Maybe one of these days, an interesting piece of content would be showing my audience old ad reads and seeing what they think of them. Because I bet a lot of you guys would think that those dudes talk fast. They don't. I mean, they kind of do, but, you know. That was kind of one of the reasons people loved them, is because you knew you were only going to have 30 seconds with Billy Mays. And so it was important that Billy Mays sold you OxyClean in a very quick and efficient manner. He needed to get every single detail of that cleaning material out in just a few seconds so that by the time the commercial was over, you knew the cleaning, stain-removing power of OxyClean, you know? Like, you've got to be able to, like, lickety-split, hit it with that shit. And then if you're talking about the dudes who used to do the shipping and handling shit, like the disclaimer message at the end, you know, like think of an example, shipping and handling 1999 plus, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. I'm trying to think of, like, God, I need to just memorize one. I need to look up one of these old infomercials and just memorize the disclaimer at the end, because I actually can say those. I can do those. I do talk pretty fast, but I don't talk that fast. Not when I'm doing these streams. What is a woman? A person who identifies as one or is visibly noticeable as one from a distance. There you go. I've just defined womanhood for you. You guys have been walking around for years now asking for a definition of womanhood. Well, you finally found the one trans woman on earth who's able to actually give you a cogent definition. A woman is a person who can be identified by the average person as a woman, visually, or someone who identifies as a woman who wishes to live their life as if they are. And the reason why these are better definitions than ones that rely on sex is, of course, that women, whatever, they're cultural terms, right? Man, woman, these are cultural terms. These are not biological terms. These are not biological terms. These are connected to the way we see each other as people. Not the way we see each other reproductively, not the way we see each other on an instinctual level, not the way we see each other like when it comes to sex partners, but literally just the way we converse with other people. The expectations, the behavioral expectations that we subconsciously put on other people. These are all based on presuppositions. And these presuppositions are sometimes wrong. And most people want to be as correct as they can be, meaning that when your presupposition is wrong about somebody who you agree that they should be considered a woman, you have to include them, but you automatically also tacitly end up including trans women for many of the same reasons. If you're going to include cis women with deep voices as women, you have to include trans women with deep voices as women. Because otherwise, if you're just going to reduce it to who has a vagina and who has a penis, I'm sorry, but you've just reduced women to breeding units. You've just reduced women to their genitalia. You've just reduced all of femininity to does have a pussy? And I'm sorry, I think most women would agree with me. It's a little bit more than that. Like, some TERFs will bring up, like, the whole periods thing. Like, oh, well, trans women don't get periods. It's like, are you saying a period is what makes you a woman? Like that? That's what defines you? I feel like most women would take umbrage with that. And I think that's just evidenced by the fact that women are overwhelmingly pro-trans. Like, most women are not, like, you know, viciously angry at the very idea of trans people. Ow! 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 Did not know that was slightly on fire. Are you a trans? Yes, I am trans indeed. Women are not pro-trans? That is not fucking true. Women are, statistically, more likely to be pro-trans than men. Sorry, I didn't make it that way. It is that way. Accept that it's that way, and let's move on with the discussion. Wrong. I'll be so glad when dude, YouTube has a suggestions feature, and I'm gonna write a suggestion for them. I'm gonna start actually sending these in, because who knows, maybe one of them will get applied one of these days. YouTube needs to come up with some kind of AI second voice. That's what they need to do. They need to come up with some kind of built-in AI second voice that you can turn on and off in your little settings over here. I need to be able to turn on an AI second voice. I can customize it and everything in YouTube Studio, make it exactly like what I want it to be. And I can have it go look up statistics and shit. Oh my God, YouTube, please. YouTube, please let this happen. Oh my God, it would make vertical streams so much more interesting. It would add a really fucking cool angle to it, and it would probably be pretty fucking cheap for them to implement. They could do it in partnership with some kind of with one of these big AI tech firms. You know, do it in partnership with one of them, or like hell, it's like YouTube is owned by Google. Google has Gemini. Just base it on Gemini. Just base the back end on Gemini. Make it have like a hell. I don't know, dude. Gemini is probably fucking powerful enough to be like, you know, like reconfigured in a specific application to actually provide some kind of like interesting viewer interaction or something like that. Because wouldn't it be cool if I could just walk away right now and like let's just say I had an AI second voice going, right? I don't, like I said, who knows if YouTube will ever introduce a feature like this, but if they did, let's say I wanted to walk away right now and go use the bathroom or something like that, rather than just leaving you guys with the campfire and the chair, I could be like, you know, set up my second voice to be like oh fuck, I'd have to name it something. Basil. I've always liked that name. We'll call it Basil. I could be like, Basil, would you mind watching the stream for me for just a minute? You know, just, you know, respond to the chat, and dude, that would be the fucking coolest thing. And have the AI set up to where each you know, person that chooses to use the feature, like their AI literally builds on whatever their channel is. Like it learns what they are and learns how to be a good second voice for whatever that is. Oh my God. Fuck. AI, please come liberate us from the inability to look up statistics, because I badly want to look up right now how many women support trans people versus men. I bet you that over 50% of women support trans people. I would be willing to bet it, but I can't fucking look it up. I know for a fact that it's not none, because I was literally talking to a cis girl earlier who's pro-trans. We were fucking sharing a blunt and shit. So I know that for an absolute fact that it's not none. I've known way too many cis girls and been friends with way too many cis girls. There's a cis girl that I've literally been friends with since I was 14 years old that hangs out in here sometimes, and she's pro-trans. So fuck off. I know it's not none. I know for a fact that it's not none. God, you people must encounter nothing but sensitive, soft little pussies. Is that what it is? You guys have just never met a trans lady who doesn't give a shit about your weird aspersions. That's the thing. Because, like, you say something like, none, to me, and my instant response is like, well, that's just retarded. I know that there's obviously women who do, so, like, that's just dumb. I don't even let it get to me for a second, and yet people try and try and try shit like that over and over and over again. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. I haven't pimped it very much this stream, but it really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people engaged in the chat. Oh, sorry guys, I'm fire trolling a little bit. I don't know if that term makes intuitive sense, but basically, I'm sitting in my backyard with a little campfire basically going, and it requires maintenance of a type. Like right now, the reason why it's not providing a whole lot of light is because the initial fire was not exactly built the best, and so now, in order to make things right, I've got to undergo some corrective actions. That requires an insane amount of blowing power. But now that I've got a decent conflagration going, might as well build it up pretty good. Oh, fuck me. I dropped one in a bad area. Damn it. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yay! Now we're back. No, I know you guys can hear me. And I'm not a him, by the way. Can you please stop doing that? It's so fucking weird. Stop misgendering random trans people, especially when, like, the fact that we're, like, literally... Stop being mean for meanness sakes, because I ain't done shit to you, dog. I ain't done shit to you. And I know you aren't doing this out of some genuine fucking necessity to actually have, like, people will claim all kinds of high-minded reasons for why they have to misgender people. But what I find is that it actually all reduces down to, I'm a douchebag, and I like making trans people uncomfortable. I would do it to black people too, but that's a little more frowned upon these days. You know what I mean? It's that exact kind of bigotry. It's the same kind of bigotry that used to walk around in white hoods. It's the same kind of bigotry that still does walk around in white hoods. You think they fucking feel any differently? So it's one of those things that we're going to have to stamp out. It's one of those things we're going to have to confront head on. But it's become conspicuous and noticeable everywhere in America. What is a woman? I defined that earlier. If you're interested in the answer, please go backwards and I will have answered it for you. Also, if anybody wants to make sure that your comment or question gets answered, consider sending a super chat. I do not read every single chat that's just sent in here, but every single super chat, I read those. I read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. The chat, I try my best, but honestly, if your chat doesn't look that interesting to me, I'm probably not going to read it. And if it's badly misspelled, I'm definitely not going to read it, etc., etc. Super chats are a way around that, so you get a little bang for your buck. It's not like you're getting nothing out of the exchange, but it is a great way to financially support the channel. If you like what we're doing over here, having difficult conversations about topics relevant to today's culture, I guess you'd say, in very genuine and frank terms, with whatever language we please. I genuinely don't understand how you could hate yourself so much that you try to... What now? That you try to force yourself into a stereotype of something you're not, instead of just loving yourself for who you really are. Man, you have built up an entire fan fiction about my life in your head, friend. Like, and I don't even know if you've realized that you've done that. You have invented an entire set of motivations for me that have nothing to do with me. You haven't had a single conversation with me to know how I feel about anything. You just see that I'm trans, and you have a narrative in your head about how all trans people feel. You have an idea in your head about the fucking reality of being a trans person for every single human being. Like, any person you encounter that happens to be trans, you paint with the same broad brush. Likely because you have some kind of hang-up in your own life about gender. You weren't allowed to express yourself in some specific way. And you're taking it out on me now because I am a living representation of the fact that you didn't have to live your life in the way you did. You didn't have to be as beholden to this shit as you are. Nobody that loves their neighbor wipes suicide statistics in their face, bitch. So fuck your love. Admit that you hate me. Then I'll have some respect for you. No Christian that loves their neighbor rubs the fact that like 50% of their which isn't even true, it's like 42% or something like that, but 42% of the trans community kills themselves. Nobody rubs that in another person's face unless they're a hateful bigot. And hateful bigot and Christian should never be descriptors that you can apply to the same person. But for some reason, that sort of thing, that kind of attitude is littered throughout the church. It's maggoty with it. The church is maggoty with these worms pretending to be Christians while using the name of God and the name of Christ to decry queer people. Pretending to be Christian while calling for the cutting of Medicaid and Medicare and programs that assist the homeless, programs that assist the world's impoverished as well. They claim to be Christian while wanting to reduce aid programs both here and domestically, or both domestically and abroad. They claim to be Christian while hating anybody that doesn't match their exact standard of how a human being is supposed to live, be it a drug user or a trans person or a queer person or someone in an interracial marriage or whatever their particular brand of Christianity labels a sin. People that use their religion as an excuse to be a bigot have become endemic in the Christian church. And I think you guys represent the worst aspect of organized religion. The reason why we can't trust organized religion when we think about some kind of futuristic utopia. One of the reasons why when a leftist thinks about a futuristic utopia, they usually think of a society that's surpassed religion. One of the reasons why John Lennon included Imagine No Heaven, Imagine There's No Heaven in the song Imagine, is because religion, especially Christianity, does horrible, horrible things. Not just systematically, though. It's a mind virus that destroys the brains of the people who believe in it. Lennon loved Jesus. He loved Jesus. He did not like organized religion. There's a big fucking whale of difference. I like Jesus quite a bit too. It's the Christians that I have a problem with. Your Christ is all right, but your Christians are so unlike your Christ. That's a Gandhi quote. By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people that engage in the chat. And if you want to see that train, let me know. I'll point the camera over there. Mansplaining much, very toxic from what I hear. Easy bait is easy bait. Shoo! What's your problem with Christians? Oh, the fact that they allow so much corruption and rot to exist in their church. I find it to be pretty hypocritical. I find it to be pretty unbearable, considering there's supposed to be a religion that eschews that kind of thing. I suppose there are some benefits to living next to a level crossing. Can you please help me understand what made you go trans? What did it for you? I just saw that question scroll by. I will actually answer that question, but out of respect to you and you're, in my opinion, you're right to have a good answer out of me. I'm going to wait until after the train passes, because I'm sure you can hear me, but I'm also not 100% sure that you can hear me well. And I really don't want to yell about it. So give me a minute to let this freight train pass by. Daddy was an alcoholic and hated you? Don't talk about my dad like that, dude. That's fucked up. My dad was not an alcoholic. Literally. That's just a fucked up aspersion to cast about my dad. My dad was fucked up in a lot of ways, but I hate it when people make baseless fucking aspersions. And, dude, I don't know if my mom's talked about it on stream, because I've actually, she asked, and I thought it would be cool, so she came on stream a few times, and, probably will at some point in the future. I don't know if she's talked about it, but she was the alcoholic of my two parents. My dad, I've never seen him drink in my entire life, ever. I've never even seen him take a sip of the stuff. Maybe he did at some point. I've never seen him do it, to his credit. My mom, though, now she's sober now, has been for, like, dead cold ass sober for, like, a year and a half or some shit. But she was, like, fucking, it started out as just, like, a drink a night. And that was, like, a year, and then it became, like, 2 drinks a night, and then, 3 or 4 drinks on the weekends. And then it became, like, by the end, she was getting, like, fucking wildly drunk every other night. But once it got to that point, she had a couple abortive attempts at quitting, and then she quit. So that's good. I'm glad she finally got off the stuff. Luckily for me, like, a lot of that habit didn't develop till I was already an adult, and that's probably why, is because she didn't want me exactly to be exposed to, like, constant drunkenness. But, by the time I was, like, 16 or something, she would drink pretty regularly, which, like, I didn't find it weird at all, for the record, because I'm from the Midwest, where everybody fucking drinks. Literally. Fucking, I started drinking when I was, like, 16 years old. I had my first drink when I was like 12 or 13, but I started drinking regularly when I was like 16 or 17. Stopped drinking regularly when I was like, I guess 24 or something like that. For a while there, I had a real problem with binge drinking, but these days, I pretty much only drink when I'm like, there's like a special occasion or something like that. And even then, I'm not getting nearly as drunk as I used to. I'll get to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucked up. I'm drunk. And then I'm like, all right, time to switch to water. And usually by the time I go to bed, I'm feeling pretty good. Anyway, somebody asked earlier for me to explain my transition process. Are they still there? So it made you decide to be trans. Okay. So number one, I'm going to correct your language there, not necessarily because I think it's the most important thing, but I think that if you're going to have conversations like this, it is probably helpful to understand the language that people use to talk about it. So if someone doesn't go trans, you would say they came out as trans. Make sense? As far as why did I do that? Well, there are a couple of reasons, I guess. Number one is that number one is just that I'm trans, and so doing so was like intrinsic to my comfort, right? And number two is because I felt like I was safe enough to do so. American history is littered with stories of trans people being treated pretty horribly for being trans. Now, American history also has some notable cases of trans people really not having to deal with that much, despite the fact that they're trans. I can't think of any notable transphobia stories involving Wendy Carlos. Maybe she had some, but I can't think of any. And she came out as trans back in like the 60s or something, or the 70s. I'm not trans, okay. Like, I am, though. Like, I literally am, though. Appreciate the answer. I don't agree with it, but I'm not your brother, so let me stop you there. What do you mean you don't agree with it? You asked me for my personal perspective. What do you mean you don't agree with my personal perspective? There's nothing to agree or disagree with. That's the fucking thing that's so weird to me about Christians, man. About Christians and people obsessed with politics. Now, I get labeled as someone who's obsessed with politics because I talk about it a lot. The reason for that, though, is centrally because as a trans woman, my existence has become politicized. So I kind of have to talk about politics. I'm expected to talk about politics all the fucking time. But I'm not actually obsessed with it. I really don't bring it out that much outside of here. I'm really not like preoccupied with it. You know, if I'm talking to someone that I know has like some kind of adjacent interest in it, I'll bring it up to them, but I'm not like constantly looking at every issue through the lens of, do I agree with this or do I not agree with this? Sometimes you just listen to a person and you hear their perspective and you're like, oh, okay. I don't know. Like, I'm not asking you to accept the validity of trans people, but I think there's a difference between accepting the validity of trans person and of trans people broadly, and recognizing the validity of one specific trans person, or recognizing the legitimacy of their experience at the very least. Like, that is the way it is. I've known I was trans since I was a little ass kid. I knew that I did not feel like I was in the right body, that I actively felt repelled by my body. And before you say, oh, it was because you were fat, I was fucking skinny as a fucking beanpole till I hit puberty. And from the time, some of my earliest memories involve me wanting to wear feminine clothes, wanting to play with feminine toys, wanting to hang out with my sister rather than my cousins, etc., etc. I mean, if you want to reduce all women down to just vaginas, that's on you, but I don't like doing that. How did you know? Like I said, I literally just knew. I don't know how to put it any other way than everything that was expected of me because I was a quote unquote boy felt weird and I wasn't interested in it and it just felt not me, you know? And everything that was not that was appealing and tasty and wonderful. And, I mean, it helped that as I got older, more and more people started to notice my femininity. It used to be something I used to, it's funny to me, right? Because people will nowadays like scream at me about how I'm a man and how I need to just accept that and all this other shit, right? But when I was a kid, man, people were so quick to point out my femininity. Dude, it was one of the things I used to get bullied for so fucking hard when I was like in like third or fourth grade, all the way up to like fifth or sixth. By the time I hit like seventh grade, I started like fighting back against people who would like verbally bully like that and just be douchebags like that. I mean, I fought back against it to a limited degree in the lower grades, but they just fucking kept on. I think they had as much fun fighting me off as they did, or as I did trying to beat their ass. So, whatever, you know? I guess it was some kind of weird commensalistic relationship. But when the nature of them started to change and people started becoming more serious about it, I started becoming more serious about it in my rebuttals and everything, in my pushback. And all of that pushback just always made me feel so uncomfortable because I really didn't know how to argue against somebody that was accusing me of being a woman when on the inside I knew that I was one. On the inside, I knew that the thing I wanted to say most was, you think I like the fact that I was born with a penis? I literally did not know how to respond to them at that age because I didn't because I recognized the kernel of truth in what they were saying ultimately. How was I to accuse them of being liars with a straight face? Is this a therapy session or a live stream? I don't know. Ask the people who keep asking therapy session questions. I don't agree with your life choice. I have my beliefs and you have yours. Since you're sharing, I also share it. I'm not mad. I was just curious what made you come out. Respect, I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to fight you either. I just don't understand why you would, like, I don't understand why you look at things with that lens. Not everything is something to be agreed with or disagreed with. And frankly, I don't mean to sound like an asshole when I say this, but I don't really care if you do agree with it or not, you know? I mean, it's interesting, I guess, to know on some level, but it's not really something that's going to affect my life in any way. And that's why I think it's kind of a useless feeling to have. Like, I think it's a useless thing to share with somebody because you can't seriously think that I was going to change my entire life on the back of that one comment. And so it was ultimately an exercise in ego, which is, I guess, okay, because that's what we're doing here. But it comes out of nowhere, and it indicates, in my opinion, a framework in your mind, a way of looking at things that I find unfamiliar. Because when it comes to how other people feel about like things that have actually happened in their life, when it comes to people's personal experiences, I take it from the horse's mouth. Whatever a person says they feel about a thing, however they say a personal thing evolved, I take their word for it. What good does it do me to call that into question? Now, their political beliefs or something like that, that's another thing entirely. I argue with other lefties all the fucking time. There's a stream a couple of days ago where I spent half of it arguing with another lefty. For all of you MAGA people that want some relief, want some, my MAGA regulars that want some, like, some catharsis, you guys can go watch the stream where I argued with a lefty. I ain't had KFC chips. I don't like KFC, bro. I'll eat it if that's what's brought home for dinner, I guess, but but yeah, all things being equal, not a big fucking KFC buff. Even if she was worse, you're still picking between AIDS and cancer. The only difference is you supported an orange bloated moron. Yeah, dude. I don't fucking... Yeah. Here's the thing about American politics right now. Everybody is obsessed with this electoralism shit. And it is... Because it is a foremost obsession with people right now, it's hard to get people to operate in a different headspace. And really, I think the headspace we all need to be operating in right now is not Republicans or Democrats. It's how the fuck do we take our country back from the billionaire class? Because Trump is a fucking symptom of the billionaire class getting ironclad control over the United States, our goods, our resources, etc. That is what he represents. That is what he is. That is literally exactly and pretty much all that he is. He's a direct and predictable consequence of that behavior. He is a predictable consequence of late-stage capitalism, of capitalism run amok, allowed to infiltrate every level of our government, from the mayor on up. What do you think about Nick Fuentes? Rage-baiting, grifting Nazi. That's basically it. Rage-baiting, grifting Nazi. Nazi that figured out that Nazi talking points sell well to other Nazis and that America has a growing Nazi problem. So he does Nazi shit while actually being, like, queer as fuck and furry as shit, you know? Total grifter, total bullshit artist, does not live the life he claims to live. Total moron, too. Dude has some of the worst political prescriptions ever. The only thing Nick Fuentes gets right is that Israel is bombing Gaza and that's fucked up. But even that, he kind of gets it wrong, because in the mind of Nick Fuentes, the problem is not Israel. The problem is the Jews, you know? That's why I can't fucking... I can't take it as much of a victory. As much of a victory. Oh shit, Ghetto Jesus, thank you for the $10. I appreciate that, bud. I always appreciate you being in here in general. I kind of know how you felt. While I'm not trans, being pan, I always got along better with boys and always made fun of for being gay. And I tried so hard and I didn't help. I grew up Catholic. Yeah, exactly. Growing up in a repressive environment is like the number one way that a person who would be queer turns into a person who can't be queer. Because if you can't express yourself openly, if you can't be who you want to be, that shit follows you. If you can't be who you want to be when you're a kid, the chances that you'll never be able to be who you want to be as an adult become exponentially higher. Imagine if you met someone who had never seen their hair before. Oh yeah, dude, that would be wild. You guys, and who is it you think I am? I don't know. What do you mean, who is it I think you... What? Do you have a dad? Everyone has a dad. Like, is my dad still in my life? Yes. So you think Nick Fuentes is... Well, no. No, not at all. Stop trans terrorists attacking our kids. No, the ones you really need to look out for are the white boys. The skinny-ass white boys. Those are who you really need to look out for, just statistically speaking. Like, if we're going to look statistically speaking, it's skinny-ass white boys that you need to look out for. Tyler Robinson, skinny-ass white boy. Alex Ramirez, or whatever his fucking name was, who shot up Parkland. Skinny-ass white boy. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Fucking skinny-ass white boys. Dylan Roof, skinny-ass white boy. Ted Kaczynski, skinny-ass white boy. Timothy McVeigh, skinny-ass white boy. How many more names do I need to list off before we establish a pattern here, folks? You can list off 2 trans shooters. I can literally sit here for the rest of the stream, make it 3 hours long, and do nothing but list the names of skinny-ass white boys who have gotten a gun and shot up a bunch of people. Do we want to do that? Do we want to just make this the list off skinny-ass white boys who've killed people? I would say James Earl Ray, but he was a fat-ass white boy, so not quite the same thing. But maybe white boy is the fucking pattern, not, maybe white cisgender man is the pattern. Maybe it's just men. Yeah, maybe it's just men. Man, that paints some negative aspersions towards men, but man, you guys seem willing to accept them. You always complain about them, but then when it's convenient to the narrative that you're trying to spin, whether it's to your wife or to an internet chat, you suddenly bring them up. God. Hi, Phoebe. I'm a conservative, but I love listening to you. You speak very freely, and I agree with a lot of what you say. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, because I like to think that I make content that can appeal broadly across the political spectrum, because even though I'm a lefty and a lot of the shit that I say is ultimately lefty shit, a lot of it, I think, comes from a very understandable working class background, a very understandable, like, I think me and conservatives have more in common sometimes than me and liberals do, honestly, depending on the variety of conservative, obviously. If you're of the, like, hardcore Charlie Kirk variety, we probably don't have that much in common, right? But if you're of the more, like, fiscal conservative, socially liberal type, or if you're of the more, like economically liberal, but like kind of socially conservative in certain ways, we might be able to see eye to eye on some shit. Like there's a number of different ways you can approach politics and get along with me pretty well, in my opinion, and not all of them come from the left. So it's always reassuring to me to read messages like that, because it means that I'm doing something right. So thank you. I hope you stick around, because I appreciate having opposing voices in the chat. I really do. You'll notice, guys, if you're paying attention, I don't ban anybody out of here for disagreeing with me. What arguments I read, what comments I read, that's up to me. If you want to make sure your comment gets read, you can send a super chat, but I ain't reading no free comment just because you demand it of me, you know? But I read plenty of contrary opinions all the fucking time. The reason we've gotten to this many minutes in the stream and it's been this interesting, like to hold 78 people's attention for this long, is because I've been reading opposing opinions. And that's what this entire format is based on. I didn't even take a hit. Fuck. Huh. I don't know where that came from. That was vicious. Are you a liberal? Ugh, no. No, I'm a communist. No, I'm not a communist either. I'm an anarcho-syndicalist in the long term, market socialist in the short term. I'm a lefty. I think the Democrats are full of shit, too. I think the Democrats are just as full of shit as the Republicans are, in fact. Let me see. I've got a $10 super chat from Arian Brown. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Very much. Policy only matters if it can be enforced. Economics dictates the limits. I don't believe capitalism is the problem. I do think there's a reason people can't vote for Fed bankers, but anyone can vote Prez. Well, what do you think the reason is? I know you have a character limit in Super Chat, so I'll keep an eye out for your chat, Arian. What do you think the reason is? I'm not 100% sure what the implication is there just from reading the chat alone, but maybe you can explain it. Maybe you can make it make sense. This fire's going good now. Now I just have to add some little support blocks to it. Keep it fueled. I don't care about political labels. I think I should be allowed to run everything. Dude, I'll vote for you. Because you know what? At least he's honest. At least they're honest. Dude, that's the American mantra. That is what we vote by. You know why Donald Trump is president? It's got nothing to do with anything he said on the campaign trail. There's two reasons why Donald Trump is president. Number one is that bandage he wore on his ear for 2 weeks after he got shot in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. That had a big effect. Or Butler, Pennsylvania. Whichever town, like it was some B town. I forget which one. Pennsylvania is full of them. But that was one of them. The other reason is because at least he's honest. Literally, that's the American mantra, dude. We will vote for any president that comes across our fucking ballot as long as they're honest with us about how fucking full of shit they are. And that's exactly what Trump is. You know, for all of his other faults, he was literally one of the dudes, like he was the first politician in my memory to actively bring up the fact that politicians are bought and paid for, oftentimes across the aisle by corporations that'll pay for both candidates, you know, and then they'll just pour their full support behind whoever wins. We've got another super chat from Ariel who sent $17.90 in, I have no idea. Israel. Okay, cool. Shout out from a fellow trans from Israel. Thanks for paying for my healthcare. I love y'all. Well, I mean, you're welcome, I guess. Here's the thing. Ariel, I'm a level with you, Chief. I don't really, With all the shit your fucking army's been getting up to, I really ain't too proud to be supporting y'all's healthcare fucking right now, especially considering we ain't got none. Dude, that'll never stop being the wildest shit in the world to me. I appreciate the $5, don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. And, you know, I mean, it's, I guess it's very kind of you to kind of recycle some of that back towards me, but I will never understand, right, how Israel has universal healthcare and, like, you know, I think they've got free higher education too and shit. I know that they're a surprisingly socialist country for as right-wing as their government is. And they've been implementing a lot of those programs for a long time. For some reason, the right wing never talks about that. They'll talk every fucking other. They'll literally sing the praises of Israel in every other way, but don't bring up the fact that they're kind of socialists, or people will get uncomfortable. But we can't have those policies here. Don't ask about a universal healthcare policy for the United States. We can't handle that here, but Israel can have one. It's like, what the fuck, huh? Is this Peter Griffin? Bye. I ain't getting banned for no anti-Semitism. I ain't got no problem with Jews. I got a problem with the state of Israel. The only reason I got a problem with the state of Israel, frankly, is because of the way they're treating the Palestinians. Dude, I think that Israel is the kind of country that literally could have just... I think that they could have negotiated those hostages back. I just think they didn't want to. In fact, if you listen to top brass and Israeli spies and all these other fucking things, there have been so many mask-off moments for the IDF and the Israeli state in the last, like, 6 months. And if you look back through all of those, it becomes obvious that they didn't fucking care really all that much about the hostages. As then it's also evidenced by their fucking attack patterns. If they were so worried about the hostages, why the fuck are they just wantonly blowing up every single Hamas site? How do they know that the hostages aren't in there? And if they have enough fucking intel on the ground to know for a fact that the hostages aren't in any of those apartment buildings, if they know exactly where the hostages are, why the fuck aren't they fucking going and getting them surgically? Why aren't they fucking calling up Trump and asking him, hey, dude, why isn't Bibi Netanyahu calling up Donald Trump and being, because you know he would do it. He could call up fucking Donald Trump right now and be like, we need the Navy SEALs. We need them right now. Send me the SEALs and the Marines. We need an extraction team. We're going to get these fucking people out of here, right? We're going to extract them, and then we're going to start implementing a very precision-based approach to getting rid of this terrorist problem, or whatever. At least at that point, they would have some kind of, like, moral through line. But the way it is, with the way they've been engaging in this conflict, they have no fucking way. Like, you can just tell that they have no way of knowing if they're actually preserving either civilian life or hostage life. For all they know, they've killed half the hostages. The only reason they think that what of the hostages are still alive is because they're fucking, you know, because Hamas is basically telling them how many of them is left alive, basically. It's information directly from the captors. It's not exactly like deep intel, you know? Israel is using that situation as a way to morally license the takeover of Iran, and nobody's talking about it, West Side SC. I'm glad to see somebody random in my chat talking about it, but nobody is talking about that. Dude, and West Side, you know who's going to be the next leader of Iran, right? You know who we're about to install, right? Us in Israel? You know who we're about to put in there, right? Tell me you know, West Side. If you don't, I'll put you up on game, but I know. What's happening, Triple C? Not much. Right now we're talking about Israel and the United States plan to take over Iran. Is Donald Trump your Lord and Savior? No, I'm not a pro-Trump person. I'm just like, I was using Trump as an example because he's the president right now. If it had been Biden, I would have said that Bibi Netanyahu could have called up Biden. And in fact, I could have, or I should have, rather, because the conflict started when Biden was in office. So really, like, what I think should have happened in that conflict is like, okay, they've taken a bunch of hostages. Let's call the United States, get one of their extraction teams over here. Let's get the Marines or the fucking Navy SEALs or something like that out here. We'll have them extract them, like, you know, secretly or whatever. We'll do some crazy shit, and we'll get these hostages back, and then we'll engage in some kind of like precision targeted thing in fucking and I think, number one, that they should have done that, and number two, I don't think they should have been allowed by the United States to just execute this whole war on their own. And I think that that's been one of the biggest fucking problems in this whole conflict, is that American soldiers, they'll get up to some war crimes. I'm not saying they don't. But if you look at the fucking conduct of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, any of the countries, I already mentioned Afghanistan, I think, but any of the countries to which they've been deployed, the conduct of American soldiers is reliably more humane and humanitarian than the conduct of IDF soldiers. Our soldiers are just better than their soldiers. Not only are they better trained, in my opinion, better equipped, but, you know, who are you thinking to replace it? I have my ideas, but not really that into it, I'll be honest. I'll tell you if I was seeing your line. Okay, West Side. So let me read the super chat real quick, and then I'll get back to you. $10 from Arian Brown. Thank you so much. Fiscal policy dictates capital flows. Currently, capital flows through programs, bypassing the middle class and gets absorbed by the rich. The demand from government spending is inherently not capitalistic. Yeah, no, I think, let's see. Let me break this down, because I'm not an economist, and you're definitely talking like an economist. I'm a layperson who occasionally talks about economics, okay? But let me kind of parse this. So, fiscal policy dictates capital flows. It's not the only thing that dictates capital flows, but yeah, I basically agree with that as a premise. Yeah, okay. Currently, capital flows through programs, bypassing the middle class, and gets absorbed by the rich. I wouldn't agree with that. I would say that capital flows through programs on some levels, but doesn't flow through programs exclusively. I used to work, like, just a few months ago, before I started doing this for a living, basically. I was working at a factory recycling, actually, giant engine parts for big, heavy equipment machines, like fucking those giant dump trucks and shit that you have to have a ladder to climb up onto and shit. And that's an example of a capital flow that's not tied into any of those social programs. You know, that company does not rise and fall on the basis of any kind of it's not, you know, coming and going at the behest of fiscal policy. It's coming and going at the behest of the need for construction equipment, which is constant, you know, and there's plenty of industries out there like that. You know, consumerism is a giant driver of capital flow, and that is supported by mostly by people working, honestly. Like, if you just look, like, statistically speaking, you know, like, the people spending the most money are obviously going to be the people making the most money. Poor people do spend a whole lot because they're forced to, you know, they have to, like, buy shit, and usually buy it at pretty high prices. It's not like they can, you know, set things up all at once and then, like, cruise at a way lower rate for a long time because they've paid for everything up front all at once or whatever. But the demand from government spending is inherently not capitalistic. That's the part where I got confused, I think, because I don't understand if you're trying to say that America is not capitalistic because of that or what. But I would just say that America's current level of underfunded social programs is not nearly enough to consider us a socialist nation. It's not anywhere near enough to consider us not a capitalistic nation. We do not send nearly enough money through social programs for that to be the primary driver of the economy. And that seems to be the argument that you're making. But I feel like that's just statistically false. I feel like if I were able to pull up the statistics right now, if I had that AI second voice I was talking about earlier, I feel like they would probably tell me that statistically speaking, fucking way more people are spending money that they're earning through some kind of wage labor than are spending money that's earned through some kind of government program. I don't know. Somebody look it up. Like, what percentage of grocery spending is EBT? What percentage of overall consumer grocery spending is EBT? One of my mods, look that up. Somebody said Gladdy's gone. Y'all want to hear a fun song? They say that after the war, the Nazis vanished without a trace, but battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books tell of their defeat in 45, but they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. The prisoner at Sandow was a symbol of defeat, whilst Hess remained in prison and victory seemed complete. So the vision of an Aryan world would never materialize. So why did they all come out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died? People who don't like Charlie, dude, there are plenty of fucking people that didn't like Charlie, including my ass. I didn't like Charlie Kirk when his fucking dumbass was still blathering, okay? I didn't like Charlie Kirk up to and after the moment he was shot, alright? Now, that being said, I don't think he deserved to be shot like that. I think that was horrible. I think it was wrong. I think it should be condemned. I think political violence of that type especially is wrong, you know? There might be some instances where I think maybe there has a utility. I mean, our country was founded on political violence, so I think maybe there's an argument for it in certain types. But you'll notice the American Revolution did not start with an assassination. And assassinations very often have the opposite intended effect. If indeed Tyler Robinson's intended effect is to silence or chill the speech of the right wing, it has had the exact opposite effect. Erica Kirk has now become CEO of the most influential conservative youth group in America. And she is a vindictive widow who wants revenge and money. Lots of it. And she has positioned herself perfectly. And with the help of, with the help of the internet's endless fucking appetite for rage and discontent, oh man, she's found herself in a perfect niche. Things are only going to get hotter from here on out. So if Tyler Robinson's was, like, if his plan was make people on the right quieter or whatever, I mean, I can tell from my chat that it didn't work. I can tell from the interactions I have in here that it clearly did not work. She is, like, and I'm not even, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't think she's vindictive against the fucking dude that actually killed him, which I think is weird. I think if there's anybody you want to be vindictive towards, shouldn't it be that dude? But whatever. She forgave him, but it doesn't seem like she forgives the left as a whole, even though we don't even know if that dude was actually fucking a leftist yet. I mean, it's seeming more likely, but it's not fucking confirmed yet. Dude could have been fucking... There's a number of angles that this dude might have had to the statements he's made about Charlie Kirk being hateful. Because Nick Fuentes has also said that Charlie Kirk is hateful. Did Nick Fuentes now coordinate Charlie Kirk's shooting? I don't think so. Oh, yeah, West Side, by the way. You asked me earlier, who was I thinking? The answer to your question is the Shah. Or, I'm sorry, he's not the Shah yet, but he's about to be. He's going to be here soon. They're going to reinstall the Shah. And you're thinking, well, Reza Pahlavi is dead. Muhammad Reza Pahlavi is dead. Reza Pahlavi is alive and well. His son, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi's son, or whatever is, I'm forgetting which one is the name of the son, which one is the name of the father. But that lineage still lives on. And that dude, Reza Pahlavi, has been making all kinds of fucking speeches this year. All kinds of speeches, positioning himself as the next leader of a transitional government for Iran. Yep. Ah, shit. Yep. You better fucking stick around, West Side. You're smart. You see it too, dog? Dude, I knew I was right about this shit. I was talking about this shit back in the summer, bro. Back when we struck those nuclear sites and shit, I was saying it back then. I was like, this is a preparation. This is us saber rattling with Iran because we eventually want to do regime change in Iran. She has very good reason to be mad at the left when all the gutless people got on internet and laughed about a man dying. That's just trash. Well, that's the thing. Not every leftist did that. I didn't do that. I mean, I'm ribbing the conservatives nowadays. I don't think me poking and prodding at y'all is the same as fucking making fun of a dead guy. You notice I haven't made any jokes directly at Charlie's expense, you know? I mean, you could argue that singing The Day the Nazi Died when everybody's talking about Charlie Kirk is kind of an aspersion. But I would just point at all the, weird kind of, horrible things that he said about black people and gay people and other kinds of people. I don't know. Seems like a pretty hateful guy, despite his loving Christian exterior. But that being said, I really haven't mocked his death other than that, maybe. And if you find that too offensive to listen to, I mean, you don't have to listen. But frankly, you have to understand that you would be doing the same exact fucking thing if some leftist had lost one of our heroes. You know that you're going to be dancing on Bernie Sanders' grave. Bernie's not long for this world. He's aging out. He's getting to the age where he could die any day now. I'm not even kidding. Bernie's in good health, but old men like that, dude, you never know when he's going to have that day when he feels like he's just done it all. His career is finally to the point where he wants it, and he can just pass away, and then he just dies in his hotel room or something like that. Who the fuck knows, man? And I know you motherfuckers are going to be dancing on his grave. So can we please stop pretending and moralizing about people that are not exactly fucking sad and all broken up about Charlie Kirk's death? And that's coming from a person who I recognize the importance of this event. I recognize that it's something that should have never happened. I recognize that it was morally wrong. I recognize that it was legally wrong. I recognize that shit. I also recognize that there's a fucking bunch of people, myself included, that didn't like that motherfucker when he was alive and are not going to start pretending that we liked him now that he's dead. I don't think that would be right to his memory or anything else. He was a fucking controversial figure. He was a fucking controversial figure, and I guarantee you he would not want to be remembered as, universally loved. He would want to be remembered as a firebrand for a variety of politics that was just starting to see an air of popularity. Let him be remembered how he'd want to be remembered, you fucking weirdos. I'm doing more honor to Charlie's memory by fucking on him and criticizing him than you guys are by licking his fucking taint and acting like he was the fucking golden goose that God shat out. That's just not... So something tells me that a dude who made his living debating people wouldn't want people going around worshiping his ass forever, especially not a Christian dude. So stop it. Stop being fucking weirdos. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was a race baiter who helped the billionaire class divide people. That's why I'm not all broken up about his death, because I recognize the fucking negative influence that he fucking embodied. Oh my god, what is this spam? Is this spam? This has got to be spam. Okay. What the fuck? Anyway, it's just sad that people on the left see things that way. Well, see things what way? I mean, I can't help that the way I saw his fucking political views. What, am I supposed to stop being a leftist because Charlie Kirk died? I'm not gonna. I still think universal health care is a better way of appropriating tax funds than spending it on war. I still think that gay people should be allowed to get married. I still think that trans people should be allowed to transition. I'm not going to stop thinking any of those things merely because Charlie Kirk died. No, I did, Janet. Here's the fucking weird truth about Charlie Kirk. You want to know what a fucking... You want to talk about a double talking motherfucker? Listen to a Charlie Kirk debate and then listen to a Charlie Kirk podcast where he's just on somebody's podcast on a conservative show. Listen when he's amongst his peers, and then listen to him when he knows he's going to be witnessed by a leftist audience. He couches his arguments completely fucking differently. And I know this is something that everybody does to some degree, but it's something I try to kind of avoid. I make conservatives largely the same kind of arguments that I make leftists when it comes to a lot of the shit that I believe in. You know, because I think, like I said, that a lot of it comes from a pretty standard American working class perspective. I don't think a lot of it's high-minded, lofty, university bullshit, because I didn't go to college, you know? What you get is what you see with me. I'm a fucking, poor-ass redneck hick from Mississippi that's slightly more eloquent than the average fuck you'll find around here, you know? I mean, to be fair, I kind of court divisiveness. So if it's something you don't enjoy, you might not like it here. But I kind of court divisive. My leg. I kind of court divisiveness here. So if it's something that bothers you, this might not be the right place for you. But I like the idea of people having arguments about things that we're discouraged from talking about in a lot of spaces. Like, you're just not allowed to have open, argumentative, angry political conversations in a lot of places. And this is a place where you can do that. And hopefully I make a little money out of it every so often, you know? People that really want to get their arguments read or their answers to someone's questions or whatever. You know, people that just want to support the stream because it's an interesting fucking place to hang out. And it's a win-win for everybody. People with weird fucking extreme political beliefs get a place to blow off some steam and argue with people that they wouldn't normally get to argue with on both sides. And I get to make a little bit of money and have those same kind of arguments and sit by my campfire. You know, it's fucking pretty ideal if you ask me. Dude, these conspiracy theories about Tyler Robinson not even being there are just fucking weird to me. Tyler Robinson turned himself in. Like, what is the narrative here? Oh my god, this is going to be another one of those fucking things where there's a million fucking stories cooked up to explain what literally is explained just by looking at the fucking footage. Literally. It is so fucking retarded. It is so dumb. But this is how conspiracies get started, aren't they? This is how I'm literally living through the birth of conspiracy theory. I'm literally living through the birth of a set of conspiracy theories, because this is how it happens. You take something like um, the fact that Tyler Robinson turned himself in, and you literally have to write a story about how that happened. You have to write a fucking narrative about it. You have to come up with some kind of tale as to why things went down that way. So you have to, if you genuinely believe that Tyler Robinson wasn't even there, that he's just a fucking complete patsy, you have to cook up some kind of story as to how he was convinced by some kind of fucking shadowy government organization or whatever to go turn himself in and present himself as a shooter. You have to cook up a whole fucking narrative, not based on any evidence, but rather based on evidence of prior behavior. Basically, the only evidence is the circumstantial evidence of prior behavior. Like, oh, well, Mossad might have fucking came to his house and fucking been like, you match the description, and we're gonna fucking, you've got this cooked up story and all this shit. You're coming with us, and if you don't, we're gonna kill your whole family and we'll get away with it and all this other shit. You have to write a narrative like that to make it all make sense, to tie it all together, because otherwise you have to contend with the fact that the dude turned himself fucking in. So there's no way he's a fucking patsy, because he fucking turned himself fucking in. Why would what you have to cook up a narrative to explain that, because you're not basing it on evidence. He didn't turn himself in. He did turn himself in. You're just wrong. Heard he's getting the death penalty. If convicted, he likely will. Now, understand this about the death penalty. There are a number of redundant federal appeals that you have to get if you get sentenced to the death penalty. So it's not like he's going to be killed right away. But, I would honestly be shocked if somebody doesn't do some kind of frontier justice to Tyler Robinson here soon. And I don't want it to be that way. But goddamn, if there's any state that kind of thing is going to happen in, it's fucking Utah. So I will be shocked if Tyler Robinson even makes it all the way through trial and sentencing. Yeah, I know. His father talked to a youth pastor, and the youth pastor turned him in. But it's my understanding that, the youth pastor basically used that as leverage to have him just, go turn himself in, basically. I don't know. That's my understanding, but maybe I'm wrong. Utah still has death by firing squad? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a gruesome death if he does die. Because they'll definitely use the firing squad. I don't know if they have, alternatives. Like, sometimes they do one for certain crimes and the other for others. I don't know. But whatever the case is, he's getting the fucking firing squad. That's how he took the life that he's getting sentenced for. I guarantee you that is how a Utah jury will want to see it adjudicated. I don't even know that much about Utah politics, but I know it's full of Mormons. I know Mormons are a crazy Christian religious sect. I can't believe I used up that entire wood pile, y'all. It's not all gone, but it's almost all gone. Tyler didn't go to the police station on his own volition. He was arrested based on a call to the police by his father. No, it was by the youth pastor. I know that it was not. I know that one of them called, but I know it was not the father. I know it was the youth pastor. I know that much. But my understanding was that the youth pastor called and then was basically trying to talk Tyler into turning himself in, and was then basically like, Tyler, I've already turned you in. I'm sorry, bud. But I mean, we can go to the police station right now and, you know, take care of all this or whatever. But hey, you know, like the weird fucking thing about this story is that, you know, read 10 different news articles, get 10 different perspectives on what went down, what happened, what they know, and the spin on it, all this shit, dude. It is a heavily politicized news story. It is a news story that's heavily reliant on conflicting accounts from different organizations. So I don't think we're actually going to know much until the trial. Once the trial comes and we see what evidence is defeated, what evidence is like able to hold up in court, etc., I think we'll have a way better idea of what actually happened. As of right now, I think we've got a shit ton of conjecture and a shit ton of unconfirmed shit and a shit ton of things that shouldn't be said about a case before it's adjudicated being spread on social media and cable TV by the head of the FBI, which seems strange. Let's see, I got a super chat. Let me read that. Thank you for the $5, Arian Brown. I appreciate that. Economics drives policy. China is trending towards capitalism. America is trending towards socialism. Glad I stumbled on your channel. Capital flows overall. Okay, if you say so. You're an economist, aren't you, Arian? You're either an economist, a CPA, or a rich dude. And I want to know which one. You might be all three. But I want to know which one. I'm guessing all three because of the fact that you've super chatted like fucking $35 tonight, but still, you know. I don't. I hearted your comment because you've given me so much money, but you know, I don't necessarily agree with your comment. I think China is retaining a lot of its socialistic aspects, but it's adopting more aspects of capitalism in order to accelerate its growth. I think that China is using capitalism as a tool, whereas America is dominated by capitalism. We're ruled by capitalism. I think China is using it as a tool. I think China as a society is using the market and using capitalism as a tool, whereas we are a society that is literally predicated upon it. As far as like our country trending towards socialism, that being a bad thing, I mean, you look at the Nordic countries, they seem to be doing just fine having trended towards socialism. And that's not to say they're completely socialist countries either. But I think our country could adopt a whole lot of things and still remain capitalistic in many ways. I'm an advocate for what I call market socialism, right? My idea is that nothing that is a human need should be left up to the marketplace, because every time we do that, we end up with a bunch of people who can't get access to that based on how much money they make or how little money they make or whatever, that they can't get access to the necessary fucking housing or healthcare or whatever that they need. And so they end up destitute, either, you know, in the case of someone who can't afford housing, they end up homeless eventually, living with other people, et cetera, et cetera. Or if someone can't afford healthcare, they just die in a lot of cases, but they live with horrible, debilitating conditions and no way to effectively treat them. Um, these are social ills that we can amend with policy without fucking up the economy, in my opinion. In fact, I think it would make things a lot more fair, and I think that it would discourage some things that currently make life really fucking hard for the average person. I don't think that housing should be left up to the marketplace, because as long as housing is left up to the marketplace and the marketplace is allowed to run roughshod over the rights and expectations of citizens, as long as the profit motive is the only thing that matters, then housing will always be something that some people just can't afford. And you will always be able to look towards the future and think, someday nobody's going to own a house that isn't a landlord. Because that's the type of country we're hurtling towards right now, is basically neo-feudalism, where nobody has anything, nobody owns anything, and they're happy about it. And I don't, I don't consider that a very positive development in human, in a human society. I think that there's a utility to people owning a little patch of something something. I think that there's utility in people having a sense of ownership over the places that they live. communism is the only solution. I don't know about that. Oh, God. I mean, I'm just resistant to call communism the solution because I feel like pure communism, as envisioned by, you know, as envisioned by Marx and Engels, is probably about as outdated as a political philosophy that still tries to call itself modern can be. Everybody looks at communism and socialism and all these ideas as if they're new, when in fact communism has been around since before the Civil War. There were people calling themselves communists, within the lifetime of a person that would have fought in the American Revolution. So it's a very old movement, and it's a very old set of ideas. And it's predicated on a model of work that no longer accurately describes the way human beings actually work in the modern day. It's also predicated on Marx's own experience as a factory owner. And factories are not, like I said, the primary mode of economic activity in this country. Like most people don't work in factories anymore. Most people work at shops or in the service industry, on some level. Oh. Corn pop. Oh. Being fat sucks, y'all. Don't gain weight. Trying to lose it nowadays, but fuck. Doesn't mean my joints don't still hurt. I'm gonna grab me a bottle of water, actually, because I believe I have a jug out here. Just gonna grab one. Oh. I'm not anti-work. I'm anti-working for scraps while billionaires destroy the planet. Yeah, that's my thing. I'm not, anti-work completely. I would argue that I sympathize quite a bit with the anti-work movement because I do recognize the fucked up nature of working for pennies when the people who run your company are making billions. And I know nobody's literally working for pennies anymore. It's an exaggeration. But even if you're working for $20 an hour, you are still getting shafted when the fucking CEO that runs your company is making $20 million every year. Not to mention their benefits package, which is a completely different level than yours is. A lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people don't pay that much attention to their onboarding documents and things like that. And so they don't realize that different pay grades have different benefits. So the CEO, he gets a completely different class of insurance from what you get. He gets a completely different vacation package from what you get. He gets remittances that you don't get. He gets allowances that you don't get. Oh, I grab some piece of wood from over here. Yeah, okay, I see a good one. That'll break down nicely, I can already tell. Yes. Oh, the real question will be trying to drag it out of here. Oh, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Shit. All right. By built the company, you of course mean that they used daddy's money to finance the forming of a new corporate entity. They didn't do the fucking building, I guarantee you that. Nice. Alrighty. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, most wealth is inherited. That doesn't mean every bit of it is. That's the best point I could bring up, honestly, Bruce. I'm not saying nobody does that. I'm going to say that exaggeratively, but I know that some people do that, but it's not the usual way that wealth is transferred in America. Normally, somebody gets rich because they have some kind of nest egg established by their parents' money that allows them to turn that money into even more money. And it's a multiplying thing. 70% of businesses fail, so having enough to survive the fall is a big advantage. Yeah, that's another good point. Um, Starting a business is a huge fucking risk. Like starting one, well, starting certain businesses is a risk. Like honestly, there are plenty of businesses that are not a risk at all, really. Like any kind of poor people businesses, bro, those are always going to be needed. Any kind of businesses that appeal broadly to the working class in general, those are always going to be wanted and needed. It's like a laundromat. Just put that in an already walkable community, and you've got a good recipe for a successful business. You're probably not going to make like fucking super duper bank on it, but you can take what you make on that and whatever you're left with after paying the mortgage off on it, or paying the mortgage on it every month or whatever, you can use that towards saving for another one. And maybe you can buy the next one outright. Then you've got two places making you money. My family had a trash business that did pretty well, even though a lot of people didn't pay us all the time. I mean, yeah, well, that's the thing. In a capitalistic world, you're always going to have to deal with people that don't want to pay their bills. Because, you know, there are always going to be pressures on people, various pressures that are going to lead them to go one way or another. And, I think some people fucking spurn their bills because whatever, they just don't give a shit. But I think some people are pushed to the point of not giving a shit through the sheer inability to figure out how to juggle everything else they need to pay and pay that. And so they just let it lapse on the fucking hope that whatever service they were paying for continues on for long enough for them to make good. And I think that a lot of people are under that pressure, but a lot less people would be under that kind of pressure if we would eliminate human needs from being directly paid for at the point of service or whatever. Like, I don't think anybody should have to pay out of their own pocket directly for the right to have a house. I think that that should be something that you pay for through your labor and the collective labor of everyone else. The nuclear family is largely dead other than in low cost areas. Yeah. In low cost areas, though, oh boy. Dude, I don't think a lot of people realize it, but you guys realize how many conservatives and right wingers and people that like make decent amount of money and kind of like lean more into this like traditional family kind of shit are moving to the deep south because at this point they know that the government's going to be the way they want it to be down here for a long time, and maybe they can even help keep it that way. And they also know that it's cheap as fuck to live down here. And I've noticed an influx of these people. Now, my thing is, I don't know that a lot of them will stay long term because there are a lot of things that kind of suck about living down here if you're not accustomed to it. And if you're not interested in the kind of thing that does exist, like, depending on your age group, there's not much to do around here. If you're like a teenager, there's just not that much to do. I guess the town I live near has a couple of things. I think there's like a bowling alley and like a skating rink, which I guess is more than a lot of small towns have. There's a big park, but there's not like it's not filled with things to do for kids. If you're like a young adult, there's plenty of stuff for you to do. If you're an old person, there's plenty of stuff for you to do. But if you're like middle aged, there's really not much for you either. I don't know, and for some reason that strikes me as incredibly capitalistic. Like profit off of the people who are most likely to have giant pocketfuls of money that they want to spend. Young people and old people. So there's some stuff for kids and teenagers, a lot of shit for 21 and up, and I had a lot of shit for old people. Not a lot of shit for like the regular, like middle-aged, middle-class person. I have a question. No hate intended. Did you choose to be trans, or was it something that was natural to you? I mean, I chose to came out. Like, there's like, a moment when you stop dressing the way you used to and start openly dressing the way you want to and everything. But no, I don't think I chose to be trans. I think it was just natural. Like, that's how I would put it. Like I said, it's been something I've been aware of and have known about and have thought about since I was a little ass kid. So I have to imagine that it's something that is predominant, you know? The FBI is on me? Yeah, I know, huh? Yeah, the FBI, well known for contacting people in YouTube chats. There probably are people that fall for that shit, though. Dude, that's what makes me not a lol cow. The fact that I didn't even get anxious or anything, the fact that I didn't even skip a beat, that proves forever that I can't be a lol cow. Too aware of the world and the internet. Hey, nowadays with Discord going wild, YouTube chats may be next. You never know, I guess. Speaking of Discord, anyone following this wild ass? Oh, no, I don't even know what that is. But no, fucking, I'm not saying there are no feds in YouTube chats. What I'm saying is that they're not calling themselves FBI, They're not titling themselves that. If there's any feds watching, they're trying their best to appear as a normal person. That's how infiltration works. You don't infiltrate by saying you're the fucking FBI. Toys Noise, thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. Buzz Lightyear, fascism everywhere. Yeah. Fascism. Fascism everywhere. It really does that really does be how it feels right now, to me. I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like the atmosphere is pretty fucking fascistic. I'm a fed. I work for the BATFA. What does that stand for again? What does BATFE stand for? No way. No way. No way. No way. No, no, you do not. Are you really? Do you really work for the? Because there is one thing I can think of right off the top of my head that could stand for: the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. No way. Do you actually work for BAFA? No way. I have a fucking ATF agent that watches me. I know you're subscribed too, because you're one of my highest. Like, when I look at my subscribers and organize them by the people with the most subs, you are second on the list. Number one on the list is DP. You might actually be number one on the list, actually. I don't remember. Yes? That is fucking crazy, dog. That is fucking crazy. Well, shit. That's the price of fucking streaming online, I guess. No wonder you're allowed to have all these crazy guns. I was wondering that shit. I didn't watch enough of your content to figure that out, but I did watch some of your stuff, and I was like, this fella's got a lot of guns. Like a lot of guns I would not expect, just like your average gun enthusiast to have lying around. That would explain it. The feds are watching you, boy. Yeah. Well, I guess that would also explain why I haven't had any Fed visits or anything, because it's like, they're watching, they're like, oh, she's toothless. Fucking dumb, fat, fucking dumpy bitch living in Mississippi. Fucking talking about how we're going to change the world by holding hands and singing Kumbaya. I'm probably about as interesting to the feds as a fucking old cat turd, to be honest with you. Because I really am just a fucking hippie. The biggest danger I pose to the feds is inconveniencing them as I leave or exit, or as I enter or exit a rainbow gathering, We watch a lot of people. Well, I know, like, the federal government as a whole does. I mean, like, if you've got the ability to, why wouldn't you? I just don't think I say enough wild, radical shit to be classified as like a seditionist or anything. But then again, Trump designated Antifa as a terrorist group or whatever. And even though Antifa is not a group, I've probably allied myself with Antifa at some point in the past. From now on, though, I'm going to say anti-fascist. I'm going to say the whole word, because Antifa is never defined in the executive order, Do you find it's a bad idea that Trump is deploying troops to the higher crime cities? Just curious, we'll like the opinion. Yeah, I think it's a bad idea, because I don't think that, like, the National Guard is trained for crowd control and population control, kind of, And I'm not even saying that with, like, incredibly negative connotations. I'm kind of a military geek. I'm way too fat and way too trans, at least during a Trump administration, to serve in the military. But I am kind of obsessed with military equipment and procedure and shit like that. And, my understanding of the National Guard is that they're mostly trained for, like, riot suppression and that kind of thing. And so when you take a force that's kind of meant to do combat or resistant operations with the like regular people in an area, it doesn't exactly, in my mind, speak well to the abundance of opportunities that there are going to be for good policing. If you're taking a group that's mostly known for shooting tear gas at protesters, I don't know that works. And I feel like if it does work, it's probably a very temporary thing. Like, sure, maybe people behave a little better when you've got the military on the streets, but what is the solution then? Just have the military on the streets like it's fucking Nazi Germany? That doesn't seem like a good long-term solution unless you're trying to be Nazi Germany, and I would rather us not be, considering we fought their fascist asses like fucking 80 years ago and won that shit. I see no reason to resurrect their dead philosophy for our perfectly prosperous country. But, you know. There was a leader in Germany who calmed cities down pretty quickly, too. I don't know if that's a good playback to pick up. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying. Right? Like, having the military on the streets as a way to fight crime, quote unquote, is not exactly promising when it comes to America's fascistic tendencies. If you're going to say that the left is crazy for saying that America's going in a fascist direction, it would help a lot if America would quit going in a fascist direction. Not to be picky, but it would help. It would help if you knew why, though? I do know why. Like I said, Donald Trump is the predictable result of late-stage capitalism. Donald Trump is a completely predictable and, like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, if you know how capitalism works, if you know how things evolve, then you could have predicted a Trump was coming a long time ago. And a lot of people did. Dude, there are people. Dude, Carl Sagan's got this fucking weird ass, like, weirdly kind of spooky speech that he gave in, like, the 80s or something like that, talking about an America that largely resembles the kind of people that elected Trump, right? And I'm not even casting, like, an aspersion there, but just like, fuck, it's, he's talking about the kind of progress that technology is going to have and what effect it's going to have on people. But, what he leaves out that I don't know if he left that out on purpose or if, he knew that it would be censored out of there or what, but he doesn't talk about why technology is going to take over our lives like he predicts it's going to. He doesn't call out why it's going to be pushed on so many people. He doesn't point out why. The reason why is because capitalism demands it. Capitalism requires constant expansion, which means new products, new innovations, new reiterations. Reiterations when new technology isn't available, and new technology whenever available. We're not building technology for the sake of doing interesting things or exploring more. We're largely building new technology from the desire to make more money, which influences strongly what we place into consideration for R&D. I've said it before, but imagine telling Americans in 2015 that in 10 years the US government and 30% of the population would be more homophobic, xenophobic, transphobic, racist, and fascist than Turkmenistan. I mean, they would laugh you out of the room, Riley. People would fucking laugh their ass off because fucking Obergefell v. Hodges was decided in 2015. That's the year gay marriage was fucking legalized, like, broadly in America. 2015. That was the year. And dude, I really do think that that was the kind of, like, the moment, like, Trump capitalized on that moment in such a fucking big way. The MAGA movement capitalized on that moment in such a fucking big way. And not really that moment, but the consequences of that moment. Like the Kim Davis thing and the resistance that people had to this idea that gay marriage was now going to be the law of the land. It was one of his biggest talking points in his first campaign. Not that he was going to try and get it reversed or anything like that, but he used the reactions from it as a way to cast aspersions to the left broadly, when really the left didn't have shit to do with the individual reactions of business owners. Good, bad, right, or wrong, the left didn't decide what individual business owners do. Especially not if you guys are going to put so much faith in personal responsibility. Don't believe in personal responsibility when it's convenient, and then act like personal responsibility doesn't exist when an individual does a thing that you don't like, and they're a part of a group that you want to cast aspersions at. Remember, personal responsibility exists for everybody, or it doesn't exist for anybody. Either everyone is a product of the groups that they are raised into and that they cling to as an adult or whatever the fuck, or people are responsible for the things that they actually do. kid, how old are you? Man, that's condescending. 27. Why? Oh my god, shut the fuck up, weirdo. I ain't a man. Stop being weird. I don't care if you're trying to be mean or not. Stop being a fucking weirdo. You guys are boring me. I'm gonna play some songs. Feel free to super chat if you've got a request. Or if you just want to celebrate the good music. I don't know how long I'll be able to do it for, though, because I know my battery's kind of getting low. Exactly how low? We're at 23%, so we've probably got like 20 minutes left, maybe. Fuck me. Oh boy. I swear this guitar's been tuning itself. This thing has been put through some fucking abuse when it comes to temperature changes, but it's holding its tuning so fucking well. And it doesn't usually. That's the weird thing. Either it doesn't normally or the temperature changes aren't nearly as extreme as I think they are. My desire to transpose. Come all you people wherever you roam, and accept that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, But you'd better swim fast or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changin'. Come poets and authors who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance will come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. And there's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changin'. From senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't lock up your doorway, don't block up the hall. For he who gets hurt will be he who has stalled. Well, the battle outside raging will soon shatter your windows and batter your walls, for the times they are a-changin'. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand, for your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. And your old road is rapidly aging. Please step out of the new one if you get it in your head, for the times they are a-changin'. I can never remember the last verse. What's that behind me? That would be a skinwalker. I'm not a hem, by the way. CNN is fake news. All mainstream media is fake news, bro. All news in general is fake news, if you want to think about it. I don't mean that literally, but like everything has spin. Fox News is fucking fake news if CNN is fake news, you know? What makes Fox fucking legitimate? Because they agree with everything you have to say? And what, do you think that's a coincidence? What, you think you got all those opinions on your own? You think you came about those on your own fucking lonesome? No influence from the rest of the world at all. Okay, well, I'm sorry to be the one to inform you, but all of us conceive of our political opinions from a broad variety of sources ranging from our childhood to our adult lives, and some of that includes the news programs we watch. Sometimes that has an outsized influence on the way we think about politics. Now, me personally, I don't watch cable news media, so I don't have like a particular horse in that particular race, you see. Where do you get your news? If there's a story I'm interested in, for like what's going on in general, I read the headlines. And then for what's like going on factually, I feel like the AP usually doesn't end up having to issue corrections. Sometimes they do, but they don't usually end up having to issue corrections, which is nice. But they do issue them when they have to, which is also nice. I'll look at the BBC because they usually present pretty even-handed reporting. And they'll report on shit that's not really covered in American media, too, or stuff that's not getting a lot of attention in American media. And then I'll read, like, if I'm really interested in an article, I will read the CNN article and the Fox News article just to see what the two sides are saying, basically, to see what the slant is. Excuse me. Late stage capitalism was a term from the early 1900s. We didn't just make it up recently. No, I know. And people, there are some people that would probably think that because it's so old, that means we should disregard it. But the fact of it is, capitalism takes a long ass time. Capitalism takes a long ass time to fail. Wartime presidency, World War III, 8 more years of Big T. Oh shit. Oh dude. Man, people are fucking wild about this shit. There really is a dedicated fan base of MAGA people. And I think they're more than a fan base. I think they might be like a minor political force in the Republican Party, perhaps a major political force. I don't know that much about the Republican Party. I'm not a fucking Republican. But I hear this kind of sentiment coming out of more and more people, and it makes me genuinely wonder. There is nothing that's going to talk this particular group of people out of their Trump support. How far will they actually go? Did that person just give me an actual sample of what their war cry is going to be? What their fucking protest chant is going to be? Who knows? Thank you for the $2, though. I learned about a woman that taped all news for 40 years because she predicted fake news would rise, and it was all given to the Internet Archive. They're still working on digitizing it since 2012. Holy shit. That is fucking dope. That is fucking dope. By the way, do you want to be modded up in here so I can, like, see your chats regularly and everything? I don't know, like, I kind of see the same utility that Paul sees in that with doing the, like, that way you've got the little blue wrench and it's easier to spot your chats, because I know you're going to be fucking adding to the conversation. I don't mind either way. I don't pop. You don't pop in super often, but I do want to see you when you do. Like I said, you're always adding to the conversation, and I know you're not going to abuse the power. So there you go. Yeah, it's easier for me. I'm blind as a bat, dude. I've literally had these glasses since the Obama administration. I've had these glasses forever, and they are so scratched up and so out of date now, and out of sync with my prescription that I have to lean all close to read anything. Let's see how much time we have left. I guess we have time for one more song. I am in the song playing portion of the stream. Oh, I don't vote for Democrats. Don't worry. No, I think they're just as full of shit as the Republicans, just from a different direction. I just think they appeal to a different group of people, Different set of tactics, different group of people. Same fucking billionaires funding them. Same billionaire interests represented in policy. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, The woman's name was Marlon Stokes, by the way. Marlon Stokes. That's a memorable last name, too. That's fucking dope. I'm going to look that up, too. I wonder if the Internet Archive's got it listed under her name or anything, and you can, like, look and see. Because, dude, that might be some fucking treasure trove of stuff for me to go through. Treasure trove of stuff for me to go through. Now that I've got my room rearranged, I want to start doing some long-form content. It's like it was a big obstacle for a long time because I just hated how things would look if I filmed in there. But now that things are not looking so shitty in there, I could actually do some cool work. And, one of the things I want to do is like deep dives into historical topics. And goddamn, it would be nice to have like a giant archive of news footage. I'm guessing too, you said they started in 2012 and she was filming it for 40 years. So assuming she stopped in 2010, that means she filmed everything from 1970 onwards. That is a fucking treasure trove. That means she filmed the news when the Iranian Revolution was going on. That means she filmed the news when the Iran-Iraq War was going on. That means when we were invading Kuwait. I mean, every fucking intervention we had in the Middle East for the last 50 years. Excuse me. Anyway, I'm going to play one more song for you guys because the phone's only got 12%. So I'll probably only get time to play one more. Yeah, she died in 2012, and that's when the Internet Archive got it. She also recorded Oprah. Nice. Well, that's good, too. I mean, hey, you know, Oprah deserves to be fucking categorized, too, and archived and shit. She's got things to say. And she's certainly important to the culture. I mean, she wouldn't have a multi-billion-dollar TV industry if she wasn't, so that's cool. I'm glad. God, my voice sounds awful. Oh, man. She's important. Even, like, I don't even like Oprah, but she's definitely important to the culture. I mean, clearly. She's obviously important to the culture. You do a backflip? No. No, I do want to play a song, though. I just don't know exactly what I want to play, and that's stymieing me. Stymieing me, because I'll get stuck on one song and then just want to play it ad infinitum. We sat on the boat, rocks and plum. Why don't we watch the fog roll and swallow the bridge on the bay? Thought I could live here. I knew I didn't clear my fucking throat enough. I hate that shit. We sat on old rocks and plum. Why didn't we watch the fog roll and swallow the bridge on the bay? Thought I could live here, but I'm still in high gear and sweating and freezing 3,000 away. Oh, Pennsylvania, 3 Mile Island, your coal fires buckle the miners' highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you. And old Philadelphia, Style City, PA. And old Philadelphia, Style City, PA. Where we all come from, most died of the black one. Another browbeater, a boxer, and saved. When he finally got caught, the cops made a few calls. They opened his cell, never fought him again. Oh, Pennsylvania, 3 Mile Island, your coal fires buckle the miners' highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you. And old Philadelphia, Style City, PA. And old Philadelphia, Style City, PA. light shine in my face. Now we're safe. Was that a creep show with drive-through windows? The gun shows got carousels and funnel cake. Says church in neon and ask me what's beyond. If I had to guess, I'd say more of the same. Old pencil tucky, 3 Mile Island, your coal fires buckle, the Miners Highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you. And old Philadelphia, hostile city, PA. And old Philadelphia, hostile city, PA. I love that song. Let's see, what did Angel do? I can reiterate Rule 5. Okay, which one was Rule 5? Because readable, original, and interesting are the primary ones, but then I can't remember which one is Rule 5. Because there's 2 secret rules, and one of them is don't be a Nazi. And the other one is don't spread misinformation. So they were either spreading disinformation or being a Nazi. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't antagonize mods. That's the other thing, yeah. Yeah. Don't antagonize the mods. They do enough without having to fucking deal with your bitch ass, you know? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, guys. It's been real, but my phone is at like 6%, so I have to go and sleep now. I guess I don't technically have to go sleep. I could just like sit here in silence all night, but I'm probably going to go to sleep. Thank you. I will try. I think I hear a donkey braying in the distance. They must be getting antagonized by some coyotes. A donkey can fight off a pack of coyotes if it's in good health, but, you know, that's one of the things they'll do to fucking let the barnyard know, hey, there's fucking coyotes. I'll bray at them. Yeah, sounds like the braying of a coyote. Anyway, fun streams always. Have a good night. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate everybody who super chatted. You guys keep this shit alive. Keep fucking coming back. Because lately, dude, the streams honestly haven't been getting super high numbers in terms of like just peak viewership or whatever. But we have actually been keeping between 40 and 70 people the whole stream. And that is fucking cool. And I'm really happy to see that like my growth is actually starting to translate to more and more regulars. So thank you guys for hanging out in here. It's always a blast. I kind of wish I wasn't so high and tired because I could make this better. Remind you to do all the things, but do all the things. Engage with my channel in all the ways you can engage with it. And thank you so much for hanging out.